The meeting's been posted and they're within the law, so I'm gonna call us to order. That's the first order of business. I have public comments here. Is there anyone who wishes to make a public comment? We have a 3-minute block.
We have people in Mesquite too, it looks like.
Okay. We would ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. I would ask that you time that if we need to.
Mr. Dave Wellman wants to comment.
Okay.
My name is Dave Baldwin. I own a business here in town, Overton, and I'm also on the board of the new Mesquite Regional Business, which is being contracted by the city for economic development for the city. And one of my requests is right now, this morning I received the information packet on the rate increase, and I at this time request that you delay any action on that agenda item right now, and please schedule a public hearing so you can receive public comment for both residential and commercial use at this time. Thank you. We have Ann Miranda from the Chamber of Commerce, if you would like to comment.
Hi, good afternoon. We concur with Dave's sentiments as well. We feel it's in your best interest to hold the public hearing so that the consumers and the users can understand why the rate increase is happening. Thank you.
There are no more comments, Mr. McKee.
Here, I thought I saw a lady here for one.
Yes, I do. My name is Barbara Ellistad, and I'm the editor-publisher of the Mesquite Citizen Journal. This is the first board meeting that I've attended for OPD. About the only one I know is Mike. This is John Taylor. He's a reporter for Mesquite Citizen Journal. And we are obviously from Mesquite. So we would like to echo the two individuals. We did receive the documents this morning from Terry, I believe it is. Okay. And we haven't really had a chance to ask questions and kind of explore what this rate increase means. Nor have we been able to get the information out to the ratepayers in Mesquite. So we would like to ask for a delay in any action you may take to approve this. And we would also ask that a public hearing be scheduled so that you can receive some public input on it. One of our concerns that we were able to discern rather quickly is that the businesses in Mesquite are, and I could be wrong with this, and if I am, please correct me, but it looks as though the businesses in Mesquite will realize a 12% more increase than residential users. And, you know, that's kind of a tough thing for all of our businesses in Mesquite right now that are struggling so bad. So, you know, we would ask that you do that. I also received some other documents. One of them was a statement of financial information, statement of operations. And there's several things on here that I have some questions about. I don't know if this is an appropriate time or if I could meet with someone after the meeting and ask the questions, or even schedule a separate meeting at some point in the near future.
Both those options are, if you'd like to meet after or schedule another time.
Okay.
So
All right, great.
we'll plan on meeting after, and then if you have additional, we can schedule.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, no further comments. I would move for an approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held June 20th.
I make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Chairman's report, I have a couple of thank you notes from students who received scholarships from the company. They're here, they're available for you to take a look at. Other than that, the chairman's report is completed. And we're ready for attorney's report.
I have a couple of matters, but I think I would rather handle it in closed door session. So if you have any other, unless there's questions for me at this point.
Okay. That brings us to the manager's report.
And we'll begin with Richard Jones, our line superintendent, and then we'll have Mendes with operations engineering.
I'll review some of the projects we've been working on. Over in Mesquite, we've been working on our Falcon Station. As of tomorrow, we will have all of the flat pads, retention basins, and the 56 tower foundations done. We had to bring in a driller. Our larger holes in there were 6 foot in diameter and 23 feet deep. So we had 8 of those. We had to bring in a driller and take care of those, and they're forming those, and they'll be poured out by tomorrow so that all the concrete work is done. We'll then start on our cable tray, conduit work, and ground grid. And then we anticipate in the next month the steel portion coming in for that.
We bid that out, Doug, and Dixie Escalante has an arm of their organization that does construction, and they brought their driller down and drilled those holes. Kind of nice to.
Swapping labor and work sometimes?
Yeah, I wish, but it's not gonna happen.
We've also done the high voltage extension at Tannery Cove, that's up in Pulte. The Mesquite crew has been working out in Riverside on the 69 kV transmission line, doing work on that, changing arms, insulators, doing some basic maintenance on that. We've also been doing our system audit, and I've got an inspection form here. This is what we go out and look for. I only printed up 3 of them here, and I'm going to look those over. Federated, our insurance carrier, asked us to go out and basically open up every transformer, every vault, every switch, look at every pole, every 3 to 5 years. So we can go out and see if there's any problem in those, take care of any maintenance issues. And like we've discussed with our pole testing program, if we don't go out and look at those poles and the pole falls over, damages the vehicle or hits someone, we've never looked at and inspected it. We're liable for it. It's the same with vaults and everything else. We have to inspect it. So that's what we're looking for. These forms, I printed these off, but they're all on electronic form. We have on the laptop, so the crew's inputting all that data in the field, and at the end of the day, they just come load and download it to the network. And that brings up any work that needs to be done, and then scheduled, be taken care of. But we're doing that both in Overton and in the Mesquite area. We rate crews away to do that. In Overton, we've been working out on the Cooper crossing. Clark County is going ahead with the bridge at Cooper Street going to the airport. So we've been moving existing facilities and putting in temporary power facilities for the residents in there so that when we can take the aerial, the 3-phase power line out that's there once they start construction. Down in Simplot, we've been doing some pole raising down there. They've asked for some clearance. They would like 26 feet 6 inches of clearance in some areas where they have large haul trucks working. Standard clearance is about 19 feet, so we've had to change some poles and raise some poles out down in that area. As far as safety, we've had 2 safety meetings since we met in July. We met and went over the proper use of personal protective equipment, PPE, clearances, and how to use that personal protective equipment. And in August, we discussed workplace ergonomics, basically positioning and how to use the tools properly and not getting out of position and strains and pulled muscles and things of that nature. As far as our safety...
Before you leave, you're gonna go over the 5-year
Yeah.
thing there?
We're presently at 4 years, 10 months, and 3 days without a lost time accident, and we're we've got less than 2 months to get that 5-year goal. And believe me, we talk about it every day. You know, let's go out and be safe. And I'll just note, we did have a first aid accident here in the last 2 weeks. We had one of our employees working in the station. We were working on some flat rebar. It's a double level deck. He was moving across that. When he reached across, he ran a piece of tie wire through his hand, came in here and came out the other side. So we went down. Yeah, he was just moving and the tie wire just went through his hand, through the fat part of his hand. So we took him down, got a tetanus shot, had the doctor look at it. And so the next day I put him on the system audit so he wouldn't be out, the hand was still a little sore. He reaches into a vault and gets bit by a scorpion on the same hand. So,
Well, thank goodness it wasn't the other hand, we belong
yeah, and so I said, no lost time, I want to reiterate that. So I said, Dennis, what would you rather do, work in the vault or on the rebar? And he said, hey, he goes, I'll take that rebar anytime, that scorpion hurt a lot worse. So, but I say, we've got a good crew, they continue to work safely, and
Industry-wise, that 5-year goal is a pretty remarkable safety record to achieve that, so.
well, that'll be about 500,000 hours, a little over 500,000 hours of work without a lost time accident.
I think that's attributable to the training and education skill level of our employees and the support of the board and seeing if they have the right equipment and training to do the job, so.
Have any questions? If not, that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, well, Josh, we don't have anything exciting like scorpion bites in operations and engineering. But as Rich mentioned in the Falcon Ridge stuff, they're coming to the last few items of construction there. So engineering-wise, the only things that we have left to do to finish in there are to engineer the entry structures coming in. And we'll wait and do that at such time as we decide to build the transmission line there. So most of the engineering is complete. We are working on the engineering for the transmission line right now to do the design and the layout of that line. It is interesting, over the summer months, we've seen a little pickup in housing in Mesquite. We used to do 25 hookups in a day, but we're excited that we had 25 hookups in July over in Mesquite. We're particularly seeing a lot of work in Tannery Cove in the Pulte area, and also over in the Canyon Crest area in the Sorrento subdivision there.
So we're seeing a turnaround in growth. We're seeing some growth. We haven't seen the road loads develop out of that yet, but we are seeing some growth.
And we're hoping the loads will follow. Boyd told me that there's 160 lots approximately in the Pulte Tannery Cove subdivision. About half of those have been sold, so we're hoping that things will keep moving along there. Over here in this valley, Rich's crew just finished up with the Family Dollar Store, so that should be coming online in the next month. And then, as Rich mentioned, the county has paid for us to move our facilities for the Cooper Bridge, but they don't plan to start that project until after the first of the year. They were planning on putting that out to bid at the 1st of September. I don't know if they're on track to do that still or not, but even though we're doing our work, the work on the bridge will not commence till early in 2013. On the operations side, we continue to work in the substations, doing substation maintenance, keeping our breakers or other equipment online, doing testing. They've also been working on the Falcon Ridge Control Building, doing the final touches to that, installing the battery system and some of those things that are needed to finish up that control building. As well as during the summer, they go out and do voltage checks to make sure that we're maintaining our voltage throughout the system and that we're not having any problems. We did have one problem up in Moapa. We found a regulator that was malfunctioning, and they've taken care of that, and it was just a matter of settings. So changed some settings and took care of that. And then, as Rich mentioned, we have developed those forms for the inspections, and the crew are entering those into a computer. We've had one of our operations guys build an interface that takes that data right into our permanent file system, so that we'll be able to enter that, we'll be able to save that with our regular data, we'll be able to search that data, and it will be saved with the other things. So we've worked with the construction crew real close, and I think that's been a good relationship.
Yeah, we've had, as we went out and worked on that, we've had 3 or 4 different updates as the construction crew has gone out and said, hey, we really need to change this field, and we need some more data here and there. And so we've interfaced with that. Merlin has been worked great, and he can make those changes. You know, even yesterday after our safety meeting, we had another training meeting on it, and questions came up. And so he just types the questions in and comes back, and him and John go over that and what they need to do. And so it's a constant work in progress.
And that's my report, unless you have any questions.
I have 3 items I'll report on. One's the NREA annual meeting, which will happen in September. You'll want to put that on your calendar for the last week of September. Start on, it'll be Wednesday and Thursday of that last week in September.
Where's that going to be?
It'll be in Mesquite. NREA is the statewide organization of all the small utilities in the state.
You like Mesquite?
They really like coming to Mesquite. And the last 3 years, they've chosen to go to Mesquite. So the other is water levels. It's not good news. We're inflow for July was 29%, which is well below what we need to try to do any recovery. There's still a question whether or not there will be any equalization releases out of Powell. They won't make that decision until in the spring. Hopefully there's a good snowfall and there's enough water to do some equalization on that, but not a good water year for us and not a good year for our hydropower. So
How much do you expect it to drop?
it came up almost to Overton Beach, and it's going to go back down to about where it was last year. So
I think they said that was about 12 feet.
yeah, about 12 feet like that. So just we hope it at least starts creeping back this way. But the 6 year, I think it's the 6-year average has been 101%. But you had 1 year in there that was 140 or 50%. So, and the river is allocated at about 110%. So 101% doesn't help us very much recover. The other is the Ent line, the Eastern Nevada Transmission Project. You know, we became a founding member of Silver State Energy Association, SSSEA, along with Boulder City, Lincoln, and Southern Nevada Water Authority. One of the projects we've entered into as a group is that Eastern Nevada transmission line to come from Boulder City, basically the Meade substation, to our Tortoise substation. Transmission becomes the key to any kind of future development, the reduction of transmission cost, or the maintenance, maintaining a level of transmission cost, and it's really key. And we've been held up by the instantaneous study area over around Sunrise Mountain. Well, Senator Reed and his staff have put forth a piece of legislation, a proposal to remove that from the study area and allow then BLM to permit the passage of a line through there. We have done our studies. We're in position to do that. We're probably the first one in line to get that through there. The caveat there, or the worry there is, we're looking at a double circuit 230 that would come to this area. The big boys are looking at a 500 DC line. It may be a question of what's the greatest benefit to who. And
where's their intent to take that DC line?
well, the DC line is to come from the Wyoming wind farms all the way into California, Phoenix and those big markets. You know, California has recently indicated a reluctance to purchase additional renewables outside of the state. And so, you know, there's still a lot of what ifs out there to happen before some of these projects can take place. Fortunately, we're in the queue in a good place, and at least we'll have a seat at the table. Now, we began this, 5 years ago? And I would say before the questions answer, we have at least another 5 years. But at least we'll have an opportunity to get to the table and have our concerns dealt with. And we chose SNWA because Overton is not going to be able to go up against the Los Angeles Water and Power or a 1,000 megawatt wind project. But we're participating with them on that line from Meade to Gimmel, and then Gimmel to Tortoise is our responsibility. Gimmel is at 168.93, that corner. So from after that, SNWA will take the line on up through maybe, but they're committed to come to Gimmel. So we feel good about that. We feel like we're making progress, but it's still a long road to get there. And Nevada Power has always sat in the middle of between us and Meade Station. Meade Station's where you do the marketing, Meade Station's where our resources are at, and we've had to deal with Nevada Power, and so we can get resource 2, if we were to ship out power, we can get it to Reed Gardner, but we cannot get it to me because our contracts and the relationship with and the physical lines won't permit delivery of resource beyond me. So that's real key to our future development and the security of the power supply and resources. And so it was that relationship we began when we started SSEA is finally paying some dividends there. So, well, maybe 5 years before we see the outcome of that. And I think that's my conclusion. We'll go to the financial now. I would note that the numbers, the budget we presented the first of the year, then throughout the year we have a pro forma where we compare the items, the amounts we believe will expend with what's actually happening. Those numbers are audited by an independent auditor, and we use the accounting standards that are provided by the federal government to us. And so these numbers then reflect what our system is doing. And these are the numbers. And the reason I put that little in there is because those numbers are then what we're going to develop what our rates should be from those numbers. So, and with that, we'll have Melissa present the finances for the month.
Delmar has graciously agreed to run the laser pointer.
The pointer.
for
So
me.
we will
To avoid any issues. For July, our operating revenue was $3,453,000, an increase from last month of $375,000.
which is to be expected. We use more power in July than we do in June.
Our cost of purchase power for July was $2,571,000, an increase from June of $222,000. Our total cost of electric service for July is $3,395,000, an increase from last month of $275,000, giving us a margin for July of $58,649, leaving us a year-to-date margin of a negative $323,211.
Where those dollars come in is this cost of power right here. Our budget was $12,000. We've actually spent, $1.5 million more on power than we had anticipated. And part of that is not so much that we haven't, is that we've lost the customer base to sell some of that. And until we get that customer base back, it's a little difficult to deal with that loss of customer base. And we look forward to that in the next couple of years coming back. So that's where the loss was, is in cost of power.
From the balance sheet side, our total utility plant service for July was $93,367,000. Our net utility plant is $75,438,000.
That's because we take depreciation and stuff out of that.
Giving us total assets and debits of $90,562,000. Our margins and equity as of July were $31,843, giving us equity as a percentage of our assets of 35.16%.
5 years ago, this was at 0 or negative. Our intent is, and it hasn't grown in the and we don't anticipate it to grow much in the next couple of years, but the goal there is to get it to 40% because then we receive a discount on our loans. But it's been difficult to bring that, that number up from 0 to this 35%, so.
And again, we have our total liabilities and other credits of the $90,562,000. Here you have our bank balance. Our balance as of July 31st was $2,997,000, a decrease from last month of $203,000. With our liabilities of customer deposits, work order deposits, construction done, and refunds to the state, our total available cash is $2,761,000. This month, we received 25 Connect fees for $37,868. We currently have 88 billing arrangements for $20,000, and our total number of customers as of the end of the month was 13,911. Here is a graphical representation of the monthly margins through July. You can see the dip, and then we're slowly climbing back up, similar to last year. Here is a breakdown of revenue by customer class. You can see at the bottom the monthly cost is at 6.7 cents. The monthly revenue is at 9.5 cents, and the 2012 average cost is at 5.8 cents. And here we have the checks for you guys to review.
I'm assuming we get some, reviewed that.
That's what I think.
And what we need there, I believe, is a motion to refer the monthly expenditures to the future audit.
I make that.
I've got a motion to refer that.
I'll second.
I've got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. And that takes us, are we ready for item H? Review and possible approval of the total healthcare package.
Every year, we have to reevaluate the health care package we provide for the employees and see if there's an increase in the cost or what we can do to minimize those costs. We received that information yesterday morning, and we spent yesterday analyzing that information and prepared and are ready to make a recommendation on what we believe is a good program. You want to cover that, Gary?
Sure. Starting at the top in 2011, this is where we kind of started in changing our health insurance. At the end of 2011, our total cost of health insurance for all of our employees was $799,000. And at the beginning of 2012, when we got the renewal information for that, it was just way out of line, and we knew then that we need to make some changes because we just did not want to go that high. So we changed then to a high deductible health plan, and we're right now at a $2,500 deductible for family with a $3,000 out-of-pocket maximum expense. And then our dental insurance is 100% for basics and 80% for all major expense. And then the vision insurance was at a copay of 0. So at the end of 2012, our total cost for our insurance would be $769,000. And as of yesterday, we got the new rates for 2013. And to continue with the plan that we have right now, the renewal rates are going to be $829,000. And we understand that that's too high, that there's something that we need to do to reduce that cost. So we went through, we did a lot of different scenarios to try and figure out how to whittle this down. And the one that we felt would be the best for everybody is the one line here that says 2013. It continues to be a $2,500
Individual.
That's a family.
$1,250 for the individual.
Right, $1,250 for the individual, $2,500 for the family, up to a $5,000 stop loss. The dental plan continues to stay the same. And then our vision plan, we changed that and reduced the benefit and added a $30 copay, so that did reduce the premium quite a bit. And so the total at the end of 2013, there's $790,000 or $21,668 still over what we paid last year. And
So the question is, what do you do to get that $21,000? Do we come and ask the board to bear the burden or do that? And this is what we're proposing to take place.
we're proposing the plan, the 2,500 and 5,000, and what we'd like to do is take that $21,000 and reduce the benefit that we gave the employees last year in their HSA account. And that would make it an exact, the same amount of cost this coming 2013 as it was for 2012. So there would be no increase to the district.
The decrease would be to the employees' HSA accounts. They would not receive as big a contribution into their savings accounts, health savings accounts.
And it still would be increasing their employee contribution. They do pay a percentage on their weekly or their paycheck, and that's increasing that also to the $41,500. That does come back from the employees out of their paycheck.
And that's the plan we're proposing to, now if you'll recall, last year we bid this package out and there was nothing competitive or comparable out there. In fact,
We had 3 bids and they were all higher than our price that we got last year, and there was 2 people that would not insure us at all.
5 we requested bids from. Part of it is the utility industry years ago had difficulty obtaining insurance for linemen because of the high risk of the work that's being done. And so NRECA formed its own insurance company, a nonprofit program to see that small utilities were able to obtain insurance. So as we've gone out and bid this, that still remains the best option is to stay with NRECA, and this is the plan we're proposing that would not increase costs to the district for health care.
Have we had a conversation with employees?
We haven't had a chance.
We just got the information yesterday morning.
I know that they've been awfully good to not take pay raises and anything for the last couple of years. I'm a little, I understand that things are tied for everybody. I don't know, I just,
You got it broke down in employee, how much we're reducing it?
Per employee or by?
Yeah.
About $400 per person, per employee.
That $400, bear in mind about 3 years ago when we went to this program, the employees were paying deductible.
that's true.
The new plan did not require them to pay their deductible. So that $400, if, the nice thing about this program is if they choose, if they do not have any incidents or do not go to the doctor,
It just
that money rolls over and it stays in the program.
That's true, I forgot.
Right.
So the flexibility of the dollars remains in the control of the employee, not in the control of the insurance companies. And that's one reason we chose the HSA program. So while some employers may see, if they have an event or several events, may see that expenditure, that $400, it really takes them back to where they were 3 years ago.
Is there any problem with delaying this till next month and give the employees a chance to look at this, or,
This needs to be approved by, I think it's September the 10th.
okay, so that's not.
Yeah, that was our, and we've registered our concern to NRECA, you give us these numbers and want an answer, and we've got to schedule it at a board meeting, and they're sensitive to that, but not responsive.
And we're very lucky we got the numbers yesterday. Last year, I think it took us 2 weeks to get the numbers.
Well, we should note that our staff then looked at the numbers and says something's wrong, and called them up and says, hey, this ain't right. And they go, oh, you're right. And they corrected the numbers they sent to us, and so it took us all day back and forth to get the right information, the right numbers.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve today.
the staff recommendation on health policy, health care policy.
In essence, it will stay as is with just a slight reduction in that savings account.
Yes.
Yes.
That doesn't concern me, that savings, I mean, I don't know if you,
And there's no copay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve, see how the word, the employee health care package as presented by staff. Do I have a second? I got the motion. I've got a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. We're ready to move on to item I believe.
This is probably finally a good note. As you know, we have financing through CFC. We have that in several different pieces, actually 11 pieces. Is there 11?
9.
9. And each of those matures at a different date and needs to be repriced. The piece we're looking at repricing now, loan 006, was originally an original interest rate of 6.7% on a 5-year note. The new interest rate is 3.3. We can lock that in and begin in September.
September 1st.
They will begin honoring that. This 6.7% really should go through the end of the year. But they've made us the offer that if we want to lock it in, we have the option of locking it in. We can wait till December and make a decision then. But it seems like a good thing to go ahead and lock that rate in beginning in September. And Terry has some numbers on what that means to us from the interest standpoint on that loan.
If we lock it in September 1st, from the 3.30 compared to the 6.70, we'll be saving $80,000 between now and the end of the year. And in 2013, it would be $159,000 savings. And for the 4-year term, it's a $618,000 savings.
And as you realize, we've made that decision to have a piece of that loan mature every 4 to 5 years and keep that rolling over to take advantage of any kind of interest savings. If we were to see a change in or a sudden increase in that, we could take a piece of that and lock it into a long-term term note rather than a 4 or 5 year note. But our recommendation is to go ahead and lock this piece into a 4-year note at 3.3%.
Sounds like a no-brainer to me, but
Yeah.
I'll ask for a motion to approve the loan refinancing for the National Rural Utilities Cooperative Finance Corporation, loan number 6. I have a motion over here for that. Do I have a second? Okay, any discussion? Looks to me like it's something we just need to do. So I will call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries, and that brings us to item J, review and possible approval of second phase of 2011 rate increase for possible action.
As the board's aware, in 2011, we did a cost of service study, and we chose to implement only a portion of that rate increase. The thought being we wanted to keep those rates as low as possible. Also, in the past rate increase, we have not, that has not impacted our small commercial or large commercial customers, but the impact has always been to our residentials. And that was identified in the cost of service study, that the commercials were slightly subsidizing the residential rates. We've now brought that into balance with the last rate increase, and this one that we're proposing will impact then both parties equally. Obviously, the question has been asked about delaying action on this. It's always been the policy of the board to have this heard in at least 2 board meetings before taking action. We invite any questions from the public to be submitted to myself or Terry or Mendes, and we will bring any information or questions that are submitted to the board for consideration in our September meeting. Our thoughts are to educate you as to why we need a rate increase, where we are financially, and then allow you and the public a month to consider those numbers, and then bring action in the September meeting. So with that, we'll give you an overview of what we're proposing and what the cost of service study reflected. And Terry, did you want to?
Sure, okay.
Terry put this together,
Back
so.
on the page, yeah. Like Delmar said, the cost of service study we did was in October of 2011. The total showed that we needed at that time a 6.1% or a $2 million cost or increase. And these numbers are to bring us in compliance with our debt service coverage.
And that debt service coverage is one thing that really drives what our rates should be. We have covenants we've made with the bond company and the CFC bank that we would maintain a certain level of coverage so that they feel secure in their risk they've taken with the district. So the program we're looking at is to bring us to that minimum coverage that's required by our loan documents.
Last year, the study showed that our base charges in all rate classes should be increased. So at that time, we increased our base charge by $5, and this increase generated approximately $820,000 of the $2 million suggested by the cost of service study.
Our thoughts there as we made that decision was to stretch that increase out as far as possible, recognizing the weak economy we're all in, and keep that rate as low as possible for as long as possible.
Now, the second part of the study is based off of the kilowatt hour charge and the demand charges, and we redid the numbers as of April this year, and the revenue still showed that we needed an increase of about $1.2 million, and directly showed that the residential customers and the large service demand customers is where we needed that rate increase.
And they are on parity. Large commercial and residential are at parity now as to cost of providing them electrical service.
And that was pretty much in balance with what we found in the previous study, so it lined up, made sense.
We want to let everybody know that this rate increase only affects residential and the large customers. The small businesses and the irrigation customers are not affected at all. On our residential rates, the current residential rate is broken out into 3 different blocks. The first block is the first 500 kilowatt hours, and the current rate right now is 0.0748. The second block is the next 1,500 kilowatt hours, and that's at the 0.0852. And anything over that, or over the 2,000 kilowatt hours, is at 10 cents. The proposed new rate would increase blocks 1 and 2 by 4.5%, would not increase blocks 3. And that total increase would be approximately $511,000.
Would generate about $500,000.
Does the average home get to block 3?
No.
In the summer, some of the homes do, yeah.
Some of-
Especially some of the older
Average
homes.
does not.
The average
They're on
is
the
block
lower
1 or
side.
block 2, or where
Block
else?
2, the average is probably around 1,600 kilowatt hours.
Which gets them into that second block.
Right. And on the commercial side, the large demand rate, it would increase the kilowatt hours and the demand charge by, again, 4.5%, for a total increase of approximately $620,000. It would increase their kilowatt hour rate from 0.0655 to 0.06845, and it would increase the demand charge to $9.01.
I was just gonna ask, just remind us what it takes to be classified large.
They have to be over 500 kW and use, I don't remember the breakdown on the kWh.
30 or 50,000, one of those.
50,000.
50,000 kilowatt hours.
Right.
I mean, to put that in perspective, your McDonald's, gas stations, those places do not meet the large commercial level. The Lasco Bathwares in Moapa is probably where that size break takes place. They're at the 500 kW and above. So, and what we intend to do is we'll review all of these small commercial rates to make sure that everyone's on a small commercial that belongs on a small commercial, and everybody's on a large one that belongs on a large one. So.
The revenue comparison for our residential rate is the current rate right now for a 1,200 kilowatt hour customer. The total amount on a monthly basis is approximately $122 a month. And with the new rate increase, 4.5%, it changes that to $126 or $4.32 a month increase.
With the average cost per kilowatt hour of those 1,200 kilowatt hours at 8 cents.
And down on the bottom here, I just put down here, based on a 2,000 kilowatt hour, it increases at about $5.70 on a monthly basis.
That's a limited number of customers.
Now, the large general service demand, the current rate base, and this is based off of a weird little calculation here. It's 100 kW at 60% load factor with 43,200 kilowatt hour usage. And our current rate right now would be $3,381, and it would go up to $3,532. Now, we went and we did some comparisons in the area with other utilities. And on the residential side, these are the comparisons. Nevada Energy is $147.96, and this is all based on 1,200 kilowatt hours.
And this comes off their webpage or a direct request from the utility.
Right. Bears Valley is 146, we're at 126, and that's based off of the increase, the 4.5% increase. The City of St. George is 101, and Lincoln County urban is
That's the only thing that's puzzled me. I'm still trying to identify an urban.
Urban is the stuff they have in Clark County.
Oh, okay.
They have, if we put their rate up for what they pay in Lincoln County, it's more on the order of what City of St. George or just below that. Bear in mind, they're all 100% hydro. They've never had to go out.
They've never exceeded their hydro.
When we were 100% hydro, life was great, but every day we added a customer and had to go out on the open market and buy power and borrow money to build infrastructure, all of that growth has driven our costs over the last 20 years. And Lincoln has not experienced that. City of Mesquite has some contracts with the Deseret and the coal-fired plants in central Utah that's helped to keep their rates.
City of
St. George. City of St. George has been able to maintain a lower rate because of that relationship. So
This is where we're at right now.
this
This is
is
proposed rate.
this is if we
without
went to the
proposed rate.
proposed rate.
Yes.
Go back another 2 slides, just, so we would be looking at 126 instead of the 142. Or one,
And instead of the 122, we go to the 126.
so you roll up again,
$4.36.
$4.
right now, go forward 2 more slides. So we would be 126, and so we would be, I see, there it
It
is.
used to be 122.
And you're gonna ask the question, why did we choose 120 or 1,200 kilowatt hours? Because that's the average usage of our residential customers on a yearly basis. Now, you look at July, you're
It's
gonna
gonna be a little more.
be quite a bit higher than that because of air conditioning loads. You look at it in April, it's gonna be a lot less than that because it's pleasant weather. So that's the average, and that's why we chose that number for a rate comparison.
And that doesn't include anything that the city tax on.
No, that
No.
does not
This is-
include anything that the city, you know, we could show 2 different rates here. two different rates here.
But that's not our rate.
No, that's not
We
our,
don't
We
get
don't
that
get
money.
any of that, that's a pass-through.
our obligation is strictly to collect that
And
for
if
the
the city
city.
wants to cancel that tax.
That's their,
That's
that's their
problem.
business. The law only requires us to collect it. We don't impose it or have an
It's
option.
not
about
ours.
it. Yeah,
So
so
directly to
we
the
don't
city.
get to spend it or.
It's really not a power bill, it's a
No.
tax the city places on people for using power.
So,
And this is the comparison for the large general service demand. It's on the same specifications. NV Energy is 33,600, Valley Electric is 4,100. We're at 35, City of St. George is 27, and Lincoln County is 38. And that's the,
So even with the increase, we're gonna be $20 more than the people around us in most places.
Yes.
and with that, if you have questions regarding it,
Are we looking for a motion to postpone and?
I certainly would like that, yeah.
In
that's
September?
the intent, that we would postpone until September
Okay, I'm
and
looking,
hear this item again in
Yeah,
September.
we're down to 2 million reserve. That's-
Yeah, one thing will happen
that's
though,
low.
in December, we're down to just under 3 million. In December, we don't have to pay that power bill because we paid early. That'll bring 2 million into the coffer, but 1 million of it's gonna go out because of our CFC payment, so.
I mean, one mess up and we've lost all our reserve.
Sure. But we are in the large revenue months of July and August and September, so we expect to see some increase.
we always
in-
dip down and then we come slowly creep back up.
Hurry up and go up faster.
That's what we're-
we're.
okay. So I'm looking for a motion to postpone the second phase of the 211 rate the consideration of the second phase of the 211 rate increase until the September board meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion to postpone. I've got a second for a motion to postpone. Is there any discussion?
The only discussion I'd have is just, it's self-evident, but just for everybody's who's listening in or whatever. Staff makes themselves available to answer all those kind of questions and meet with groups or whatever has to take place in order to be able to answer those questions. We've done it in the past, it's always helped, so I just wanted to make everybody aware that that's available. And all of this material.
Yeah, all the material that anyone wants to review is going to be available during that month. So,
Of course,
I have,
on the website or something.
is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries for postponement. And we will move on to the next item. Review and possible approval of the SEDC contract renewal.
SEDC provides our billing software, and SEDC is a cooperative organization. We're a member of that organization, and it's a nonprofit provider. When we entered into this contract 12 years ago, we began with
2001, we started this.
We began with SEDC. One of the attractive parts of SEDC is we do not have to go through a major software upgrade ever. They provide us with small upgrades every quarter that keeps our software current and up to speed. We've had a great relationship with them. They provide those professional services to us. They're at a cost-effective rate, and they're asking for us to sign another contract with them with the very similar costs that we've had in the past.
It's exactly the same cost. 6 years ago, we signed a contract for 6 years, and the costs have not increased at all. So it's exactly the same cost as 6 years ago.
I
And
can't
that's
say
that.
that about hamburger.
Or gas, or
Anything.
anything else. And I should say, we are considered by SEDC one of the, when they have a beta test they want to run on something, they get with us. because at this point, our people are probably as educated and knowledgeable about the software as the SEDC staff is. And so we've got a wonderful partnership there that we would hate to lose.
And they are also, like Delmar said, a cooperative, and we receive capital credits back from them. And last year, we received $6,000 back from them in refunds.
And the nice thing about a cooperative relationship like this that you don't have with other software providers is we are able to sit on the board and vote and make decisions on where the company goes and what the company does. There are actually two companies that follow this format that are used widely within the utility industry, and SEDC is the one we've been most happy with, the most successful with. So we're looking to redo that contract.
6 year?
again.
6
6-year
years.
contract. Locks that price in for 6 years,
And it gets us our best rate for the 6 years.
and these are considered professional services.
Most software places, they keep on giving you new software and charging you.
Charging, yeah.
Yeah.
Cost a fortune.
And you have to pay to update it.
That's a pretty good deal for them to do it.
And more so than just the disruption it causes within your company to come in and do away with one complete operational system and put another one in place is really tough to do with on a 5-year basis. So we've been really happy with the program we have here.
We're looking for a motion to approve the SEDC contract renewal.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion?
For 6 years.
For 6 years. I got a motion? I got a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Now we're ready to move on to L. Review and possible approval of mutual assistance agreement with the Colorado River Commission and the Overton Power District.
You know, in the past, we've had some situations where we've traded labor with some of the neighboring utilities. We have some great people on our staff. And you know, from the meetings that we've talked about, sending people to Lincoln County, to Boulder City, and to other utilities who need to use some of that expertise. We've had a situation where we were doing the work on our Glendale transformer over the summer, and there was one of the employees at Lincoln County who had just completed a class on substation maintenance that had been trained in that very area. So we had him come down and work for us for 2 days and use his expertise. So we've had a real great relationship working with the neighboring utilities. As we went to our SSEA meetings, Delmar brought up with the Colorado River Commission and the SSEA that it would be a great idea for us to develop a contract where we have some parameters to use as we use that labor. And the reason that this has come about is in some of these catastrophic outages that they have back east when a tornado or hurricane goes through a neighborhood, the neighboring utilities come in and help them out, but sometimes the home utility finds out that they're getting just huge bills from the neighboring utilities to use their employees. And so this contract was developed by the Colorado River Commission. It is revenue neutral. There are no costs associated with it at this point. It just lays the groundwork for this exchange of labor that we use sometimes. It establishes the contacts if you want to use that labor, and then it puts limits on the way things can be charged and expensed as we use that labor. And so it just, if you've reviewed that, it's a very short contract. It's very straight to the point, and we plan on using this as a template to go to the other utilities. Colorado River Commission has already taken this to Lincoln County, and Lincoln County's approved it. They've asked us to see if we could have this approved this month. They would like to take both of those to their September board meeting and have those approved at the Colorado River Commission. And then once that's approved, we hope to use this as a template for establishing those future relationships with the other utilities. So I think it's a very straightforward contract, addresses the things that we need to do, but we're not committed to spend anything until until we actually ask for that.
And we're not committed to respond to in a situation. If they ask and we're unable to respond, we're not obligated to respond. It's our choice whether we respond. The method of receiving payment and complaining if they don't pay is spelled out in the document. And it also provides for not only emergency response to events, but like we indicated, Colorado River Commission may have certain test equipment that they can come out and perform that work for us, and we don't have to buy an expensive piece of equipment to perform that. And so it becomes a shared, some of those assets and skill becomes a shared asset within the community. So it really limits our cost on some of those events. So.
Chairman, can I have a comment? City of Logan, Utah, last August had an event. A windstorm came through and took their whole system down. They have about 20 employees. They reported this in our annual meeting through the IPSA, and we have a mutual agreement contract with them at this time. Within one day, they had about 20 employees. They had 135 men with the associated equipment there putting their system up. That happened on a Friday afternoon. By Sunday, they had 90% of their customers back on. From 100% outage, they had 90% of their customers on. Even 3 months later when we reported, we still have a couple of homes that were off, but that was because the trees went down and crushed the homes. The homes are being rebuilt. But it just gives a small utility like us the ability to bring people in and in those catastrophic events, have those neighboring utilities in. Even the governor of Utah came in and toured the area and was very complimentary of the surrounding utilities. Not only men and equipment, but material. They put out, we need wire, poles, and things of that nature. And those utilities that had it transported it to them so that they could have the equipment, the material to put their system back together.
Well, I know, like, when we have a transformer issue or problem, you report to us from time to time, but that's 52 weeks out.
Yeah.
And, can you imagine a city not being able to grab a hold of a transformer, big transformer?
And we have had instances, for example, the fires up in Lincoln County a few years ago where we went up there and helped them put their system back up. So it does happen even in our
But we've never, it's just been a good neighbor policy, and we've never had anything in writing. And so we've developed this policy to kind of spell out the parameters of what to do in those situations.
Is this something that the SSEA will eventually get into?
I think eventually the agreement will not be with Colorado River Commission or with Lincoln County. The members of SSEA will all agree to and I think it'll grow into that. That's at least the intent. We had.
It looks to me like
formed-
that's the perfect vehicle for something like this.
And when we formed SSEA, that was the intent of these kind of things. So this is an interim step to get there.
So I will be looking for approval of the mutual assistance agreement with the Colorado River Commission and the Overton Power District. Do you have a motion of that nature?
I'll make that motion.
I got the motion. Do I have a second? I have a second.
Yes.
Discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. That brings us down to item N, which is public comments, maybe limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have any public comments?
Mr. Bowick has public comment. I want to thank you for delaying the action. I guess that's normal procedure, but I still think it'd be beneficial if you could get the public hearings up in Mesquite so people up in Mesquite can actually use this in face-to-face and listen to what their comments on. Because, I mean, you're going to Overton, and I appreciate the telecast here, but it's quite disjointed. You don't know who's talking and exactly what's going on. It is better than not having any contact. I think it's very important that you take this radio, because I think there are a lot of questions on the structure. Some of the comments made on parity of billing, I think there's some questions about that.
Any other comments?
No other comments in the key?
Okay, any here? Seeing none, we are ready to look for an approval of September 19th, 2012, next board meeting.
Make that motion.
I got a motion for the next board meeting, second? Okay, got a second, all in favor? Aye. And I understand we've got some closed door personnel.